Maryland may market itself as the land of blue crabs, charming neighborhoods, and historic skylines, but let's be real. Behind those glossy postcards lie towns that make you wonder if relocation guides are just stand-up comedy in disguise. Welcome to the top 10 worst towns to live in Maryland right now. Places you should absolutely think twice about moving to. Before you start packing boxes and dreaming of that picture-perfect Maryland waterfront life, here's a reality check. Not every town here promises quality of life. Some promise something else entirely: sirens, eviction notices, or a monthly rant about why the rent's so high when the streetlights don't even work. If you've ever searched for the worst towns, worst cities, or worst places to live in Maryland, this countdown will give you plenty of reasons to rethink those relocation plans. Buckle up, because this isn't your average town review. This is about exposing the side of Maryland's communities most people avoid mentioning. Stay with us until the end. You'll definitely want to know which towns to cross off your moving list. Let's dive right in. Number 10. Elkton. Elkton, often called the Gateway to Maryland, might sound like a charming slogan fit for a postcard. But cross that gate, and you may quickly realize the sign should probably read, "Proceed at your own risk." Once a bustling stop for travelers and spontaneous weddings, yes, Elkton was once Maryland's mini Vegas for eloping couples. Today it's more likely to make residents say, "I do," to leaving town. Let's talk numbers before nostalgia. Elkton's overall crime rate sits about 66% higher than the Maryland average, and its violent crime rate is nearly 50% above the national level. Locals often joke that hearing sirens on a Sunday morning is more common than hearing church bells. Property crime adds insult to injury. Theft and burglary make up nearly 80% of reported incidents. If you move here, even your lawnmower might start feeling like a high-risk investment. But crime isn't the only dark cloud over Cecil County's Gateway. The median household income hovers around $62,000, well below the state average of about $98,000. Combine that with a poverty rate nearing 17%, and you've got a community struggling uphill. Unemployment remains above both state and national averages, while small businesses and infrastructure seem stuck in time. Downtown looks like it's been waiting for a revival train that never arrived. Education doesn't paint a brighter picture either. Elkton High and nearby schools earn test scores parents describe as a work in progress. Meanwhile, median home prices hover near $280,000, leaving residents asking, "Why am I paying suburban prices for city problems?" To be fair, some locals are pushing for change, investing in art spaces, community events, and local markets. But progress moves slower than Route 40 traffic during rush hour. So, while Elkton may look conveniently located between Philadelphia and Baltimore, remember, convenience doesn't equal comfort. It's the kind of place that proves not every gateway leads somewhere you want to go. Would you risk living in a town where even opportunity seems to be packing its bags? Let's see what's next. Number 9. Hyattsville. Welcome to Hyattsville, a small city with big city problems and an even bigger identity crisis. It wants to be the artsy, walkable, up-and-coming suburb of DC, but in reality, it's more like that one friend who swears they've changed, until you check their record. On paper, Hyattsville sounds promising: close to the capital, decent public transit, and a touch of urban renewal. But dig deeper, and those city vibes come with a side of, keep your doors locked. The crime rate is roughly 77% higher than the national average, and violent crime nearly doubles Maryland's state average. Not exactly brochure material. Residents report everything from car break-ins to assaults, even in areas tagged for revitalization. Property crime thrives here, with over 3,000 incidents per 100,000 residents. Translation: your Amazon packages might have shorter lifespans than a snowball in July. Hyattsville has potential: murals, new apartments, trendy restaurants. but that growth has inflated housing prices far faster than wages. The median home price is about $430,000, while median household income sits around $78,000. In simpler terms, you'll pay nearly $500,000 to hear police sirens as your daily soundtrack. Education isn't helping much either. Schools often rank below state averages, leaving parents choosing between expensive private options or hoping for the best. And then there's traffic. Commuting into DC is a punishing experience, with tolls and gas prices turning every morning drive into a financial workout. Still, Hyattsville isn't without heart. Its loyal residents, active art scene, and community spirit keep it from feeling hopeless. But crime, cost of living, and inconsistent infrastructure make it hard to sell the Maryland dream. So if you're thinking Hyattsville offers affordable city life with suburban calm, think again. It's the kind of place where charm and chaos share the same zip code. Would you risk it for a shorter commute to DC? Some do, but many soon learn that convenience doesn't always mean livability. Number 8. Cambridge. Cambridge, once a jewel of Maryland's eastern shore, should be the pride of the coast, with waterfront views and rich history. Instead, it often turns what should be coastal charm into a mix of crime, poverty, and frustration. It's one of those towns where the scenery says, relax, but the statistics say, lock your doors. The violent crime rate is nearly double the Maryland average, and property crime sits about 40% higher than the state norm. Around here, it's not just about worrying if your car will be broken into. You might start wondering if your car will even be there tomorrow. Police data consistently list theft, burglary, and aggravated assault as frequent repeat offenders. Economically, Cambridge is like a once promising student who just stopped trying. The median household income is roughly $52,000, while the poverty rate floats between 20% and 25%. More than double the state's average. Unemployment remains above 6%, and years of underinvestment have left many residents feeling left behind. The town has a deep civil rights history, but sadly, many of the inequalities it once fought against still persist. Whole neighborhoods show signs of neglect, boarded-up homes, empty lots, and fading hope. You can buy a home for around $240,000, but that bargain comes with the cost of instability. Schools in Dorchester County often underperform, and parents frequently look elsewhere for better education. To its credit, Cambridge still has people fighting for revival, local artists, small businesses, and community leaders determined to bring it back. But progress is slow against decades of economic erosion. Cambridge has the bones of a beautiful waterfront town, but right now, it's still stuck in survival mode. Would you bet on its potential, or choose peace of mind elsewhere? Because here, the sunsets are free, but safety might cost extra. Number 7. Ocean City. Ocean City, the postcard of Maryland's summer dreams. Miles of sandy beaches, boardwalk fries, Ferris wheels, and t-shirt shops proudly selling, "I Red Heart Maryland," and "I Survived Senior Week." Sounds perfect, right? Well, hold that beach umbrella, because living here year-round is an entirely different kind of vacation. Ocean City may be a blast to visit, but when it comes to actually living here, it's like trying to sleep in a theme park after closing time. Noisy, chaotic, and just a little unsettling. Let's dive into the numbers before we grab the sunscreen. Ocean City's overall crime rate is about 4 times the national average, and its violent crime rate sits nearly 50% higher than the Maryland average. Property crime, fueled by the constant stream of tourists, goes completely off the charts. Thefts, break-ins, and "I swear I left my bike right there" moments happen more often than seagulls stealing fries. Defenders will tell you those stats are inflated by visitors, and maybe that's true, but it doesn't make you feel any better when your car gets broken into by someone just visiting. Economically, Ocean City lives and dies by the calendar. In summer, the place explodes with energy and cash flow. Hotels fill up, restaurants thrive, and the boardwalk hums like a carnival midway. But when the tourists vanish, the vibe turns ghostly. The year-round population of just under 7,000 residents suddenly feels every empty condo and closed ice cream shop. Off-season unemployment regularly spikes above 8%, while the median home price hovers around $430,000. On paper, that sounds like dream beachfront living, until you realize the median household income barely reaches $45,000. That's a Champaign zip code on a beer budget. Many locals juggle multiple jobs just to make ends meet, as costs skyrocket every summer. Even safety depends on the season. From May through September, Ocean City transforms into a circus of late-night parties, duos, and tourist chaos. Locals joke that living near the boardwalk means hearing every argument, siren, and off-key karaoke performance at 2 a.m. To be fair, Ocean City still delivers beauty, Atlantic sunrises, a tight-knit community, and quiet winters for those who enjoy peace and solitude. But it's not for everyone. Would you trade safety and stability for a permanent summer? Because in Ocean City, paradise comes with fine print, and it's written in sand that washes away every season. Number 6. Hagerstown. If Maryland had a town that defines the phrase, good bones, bad breaks, it would be Hagerstown. This mid-sized city in Washington County has history, location, and potential written all over it, but also high crime, economic struggles, and a charm buried under decades of frustration. Locals call it Hub City, but lately, it's been more of a hub for problems than prosperity. Let's start with the facts. Hagerstown's violent crime rate is about 80% higher than the Maryland average and nearly twice the national average. Assaults, robberies, and thefts keep police scanners buzzing more than coffee shops on a Monday morning. Property crime sits roughly 40% above the national rate, so if you move here, an alarm system is as essential as running water. But crime isn't the only shadow. The median household income sits around $52,000, far below Maryland's $98,000 average, while the poverty rate hovers near 20%. That's right, 1 in 5 residents lives below the poverty line. Manufacturing once powered Hagerstown's economy, but when the factories closed, they left behind empty warehouses and even emptier wallets. Today, the job market leans on retail and healthcare, industries that don't quite balance out rising living costs. Education and infrastructure mirror the same struggle. Schools underperform compared to state averages, and while the city's trying to modernize, much of it still feels stuck in the early 2000s, uneven sidewalks, flickering streetlights, and all. Housing may seem affordable, with a median price around $270,000, but many of those homes come with a needs work disclaimer the size of a billboard. Still, Hagerstown isn't hopeless. The arts community is growing, downtown's entertainment district is expanding, and local leaders are genuinely working toward revival. But progress is slow, and the issues, crime, poverty, and perception, move faster than recovery. So here's the dilemma. Hagerstown could become Maryland's next great comeback story, or it could keep spinning its wheels. Would you bet your relocation plans on a city still figuring out which way it's headed? Because here, the potential is real, but so are the risks. Number 5. Cumberland. If there were ever a town that could headline a documentary called The Rise, Fall, and Shrug of an American City, it would be Cumberland. Nestled in the mountains of western Maryland, it's got postcard-perfect views, rolling hills, and small-town charm. But peel back the scenery, and you'll find a community fighting an uphill economic battle that's only getting steeper. Once nicknamed the Queen City, Cumberland thrived during its industrial heyday, booming with factories, railroads, and enough jobs to keep everyone busy. Fast forward to today, and that crown has definitely slipped. The median household income sits around $47,000, less than half the Maryland average, while the poverty rate hovers near 25%, one of the highest in the state. It's the kind of economy that makes you wonder if opportunity packed up and took the last train out of town, literally. And then there's the crime. For a town of just 18,000 residents, Cumberland's overall crime rate is roughly 90% higher than the national average. Property crimes lead the charge, car break-ins, thefts, and burglaries, but violent crime shows up often enough to keep locals double-checking their locks. You can almost hear the slogan, "Cumberland, where history lives," and sometimes your stuff doesn't. Housing appears affordable, with a median home price of about $140,000, far below the state average. But affordability doesn't mean opportunity. It's like buying a cheap car that constantly needs repairs, great deal up front, but costly over time. Education and infrastructure tell the same story. Schools are working on it, and downtown revitalization projects are ongoing but inconsistent, like Wi-Fi in the mountains. City officials have pushed tourism and small business development, and there are bright spots, but the road to recovery remains bumpy. Cumberland isn't without hope. The people are proud, the scenery breathtaking, and the community resilient. But its economic reality continues to hold it back. So, can the Queen City ever reclaim her throne? Or is she destined to remain a faded monarch in Maryland's mountain shadow? Number 4. Salisbury. Welcome to Salisbury, the so-called capital of Maryland's Eastern Shore, where college students, commuters, and longtime residents all share one thing in common: wondering if the next siren they hear is just another "Welcome to the neighborhood" announcement. On paper, Salisbury seems promising. It's home to Salisbury University, a growing business hub, and even a minor league baseball team. But peel back the surface, and you'll find a city juggling charm and chaos like a social experiment. Let's break down the reality. Salisbury's crime rate is roughly 115% higher than the national average, and violent crime nearly doubles the state average. Assaults, robberies, and burglaries happen with unsettling regularity. Property crime, however, is the real MVP, earning Salisbury a recurring spot on "Most Dangerous Places in Maryland" lists year after year. Locals will tell you living here is all about location, location, location. As in, make sure yours comes with a sturdy deadbolt and functioning security cameras. Economically, the picture isn't much brighter. The median household income is about $57,000, well below Maryland's $98,000 median. The poverty rate sits around 23%, and unemployment often flirts with 6%. That's too much financial pressure and not enough opportunity. Being near Ocean City helps a bit, but seasonal jobs can't build year-round stability. Meanwhile, median home prices hover around $280,000. Not bad until you realize wages haven't kept up, leading to more renters and fewer homeowners. Salisbury often feels caught between college town and crime town. But here's the twist: Salisbury isn't standing still. Downtown has seen major revitalization with new shops, art galleries, and breweries adding life to the area. Salisbury University injects energy and culture, at least until graduation, when most of those bright young grads pack up and move out faster than a crab escaping a net. So, what's the verdict? Salisbury has potential, a waterfront, a university, and a budding cultural scene. But crime and economic inequality keep it from reaching its full promise. The question is, can it bridge that gap? Or will it remain a tale of two Salisburys, one of promise and one of persistent problems? Number 3. Bladensburg. Blink and you might drive right past Bladensburg, but stay a little too long, and you'll definitely remember it. This small town just outside Washington, D.C., carries more drama per square mile than most major cities. The population may be small, but the police blotter reads like something straight out of a big city crime report. Bladensburg proves that when it comes to crime statistics, size doesn't mean safety. Let's talk numbers because they paint a vivid picture. Bladensburg's overall crime rate sits nearly 80% above the national average, while violent crime runs about 50% higher than Maryland's already elevated state rate. For a community of just over 9,000 people, that's alarming. Property crime also pulls its weight. Burglary and theft are frequent offenders, and locals joke that car break-ins feel like a neighborhood tradition. When your town has more police reports than parks, it's never a good look. The economic picture isn't much brighter either. The median household income hovers around $63,000, which sounds decent until you remember Maryland's state median is roughly $98,000. The poverty rate sits near 15%, and job growth crawls along slower than DC traffic on a Monday morning. It's not that Bladensburg lacks potential, it's just that opportunity seems to skip right over it, possibly rerouted to safer zip codes. Housing adds another challenge. With median home prices around $350,000, affordability might seem reasonable for the region, but high upkeep costs and sketchy surroundings often come with the deal. Sure, you're close to the nation's capital, but you're also close to the realities that spill over from it. Schools? Let's just say test scores could use a tutor. Parents who can afford it often look toward private or charter options. To be fair, Bladensburg has its bright spots. Its role in the War of 1812 adds historical depth, and the Anacostia riverfront can look stunning under the right light. The community is diverse, and local restoration projects show genuine effort. Yet, persistent safety issues and slow economic recovery keep the town anchored down. So, here's the real question. Is Bladensburg simply misunderstood, or a cautionary tale of small-town Maryland living? Because for a place this tiny, it leaves a big impression, and not always the one you'd want on your moving list. Number 2. Princess Anne. Don't let the royal name mislead you. There's nothing particularly majestic about Princess Anne, Maryland. If you arrive expecting manicured lawns and regal charm, you'll be met instead with potholes, poverty, and a crime rate that's anything but noble. The title, Princess, feels almost ironic here, because life in this town is more struggle than storybook. Home to just over 3,200 residents, Princess Anne defines small-town living, but its crime numbers tell a much larger story. Violent crime is nearly 3 times the national average, and property crime sits roughly 70% higher than Maryland's average. It's the kind of town where even the streetlights seem to do more policing than the sheriff's department. When numbers like that come from a community this small, it's like watching a thriller on fast forward, same fear, less distance. Economically, things aren't faring much better. The median household income hovers near $40,000, less than half the Maryland state average. With a poverty rate of around 33%, 1 in every 3 residents is living on the edge. The nearby University of Maryland Eastern Shore provides some jobs, but beyond the campus, employment opportunities are as rare as royal carriages in Somerset County. Many residents commute long distances or rely on part-time work that barely covers essentials. Housing might seem affordable, with a median home price around $170,000, but the low cost comes with trade-offs. Limited amenities, underperforming schools, and scarce healthcare access make daily life feel more confining than cozy. Sure, you can buy a house here, but peace of mind will likely cost extra. Still, hope lingers. The town's historic architecture and cultural ties to UMass give it potential, and there are efforts underway to revitalize the downtown area. But progress moves slowly, and public perception moves even slower. So while the name, Princess Anne, sounds royal, the reality remains anything but. Until safety, opportunity, and stability make their return. This is one princess whose crown has definitely slipped. The only question is, would you dare to write the next chapter here? Number 1. Baltimore. And here we are, the crown jewel of Maryland's chaos, the heavyweight champion of crime stats, the city that manages to be both iconic and infamous, Baltimore. Let's get this out of the way first. The crab cakes? Legendary. The harbor views? Stunning. The people? Resilient. But when it comes to safety and stability, Baltimore's reputation doesn't just precede it, it practically shouts from the rooftops. This is a city where world-class art museums share streets with world-class homicide rates. Despite some progress in recent years, Baltimore still tops the charts for violent crime. In 2024, the city recorded over 1,800 violent incidents per 100,000 residents, nearly triple the national average. Homicides, though slightly down from previous years, still range between 250 and 300 annually. For a city of about 570,000 people, those numbers are staggering. Statistically speaking, you're more likely to encounter violent crime here than in almost any other major U.S. city. Baltimore often holds the unenviable title of deadliest large city in America, and it's not one anyone's eager to defend. But crime isn't Baltimore's only burden. The economy still feels hungover from decades of decline. The median household income stands around $56,000, barely over half Maryland's state average. The poverty rate sits above 20%, unemployment remains near 6%, and entire neighborhoods still bear the scars of redlining, industrial collapse, and neglect. Abandoned row houses stretch for blocks, and schools continue to fight uphill battles against underfunding and poor performance. Yet here's the paradox. Baltimore is also bursting with pride, creativity, and soul. It's the birthplace of legends like Thurgood Marshall and Billie Holiday, home to diehard Ravens fans, and host to a thriving harbor that draws millions of tourists each year. Neighborhoods like Federal Hill and Fells Point prove that revival is possible, even if it's uneven. For every rejuvenated block, though, another waits for its turn. Baltimore is a city of contradictions, grit and greatness coexisting side by side. It dares you to see its beauty but never lets you forget its pain. So, would you move here for the culture, history, and those unbeatable crab cakes? Or would you glance at the stats and say, pass the Old Bay, but I'll take it to go? And there you have it. The top 10 worst towns to live in Maryland. From struggling small towns to big cities still wrestling their demons, Maryland proves that even beneath the Chesapeake Bay's charm, not every zip code tells a happy story. High crime, low income, and ongoing battles for stability. Each place has its own uphill climb. But it's worth remembering that behind every struggling town are people working tirelessly to make things better. So before you pack your bags or cross a town off your list, dig deeper. Real Maryland living isn't just about numbers, it's about the life you build. If this countdown opened your eyes or made you think twice, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more honest relocation guides, city comparisons, and deep dives across America. Because here, we don't just travel. We tell the truth about where you live, where you move, and where you might want to think twice about going.